The first time my daughter-in-law told me I wasn't invited to the party I had paid for, I thought I had misunderstood her. It was a Saturday morning, and I was standing in my kitchen with a list of things still left to do. The caterer had been paid. The restaurant had been reserved. The flowers had been ordered. Even the little gold place cards had been printed. It was supposed to be a celebration for my son, Daniel, and his wife, Claire. Daniel had recently received a promotion, and Claire had finished a difficult year at work. 6 weeks earlier, I had offered to pay for the celebration. Not because anyone had asked me. Because I wanted to. They were my family. I wanted them to have one evening when neither of them had to worry about the cost. That morning, I called Claire to ask whether she wanted me to bring the dessert to the restaurant. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Actually, you don't need to come." I laughed because I thought she was joking. "What do you mean?" "The party is going to be family and close friends." I waited. Then she added, "So I think it would be better if you stayed home." For a few seconds, I couldn't speak. I looked at the list in my hand. My name was at the top. Not because I was the guest of honor. Because I had been the one organizing everything. "I see," I finally said. Claire sighed. "Please don't make this difficult." That sentence hurt more than the invitation itself. I hadn't made anything difficult. I had simply asked whether I should bring dessert. I sat down at the kitchen table. "Did Daniel know about this?" "He knows you're not coming." I stared at the wall. My son knew. That was the part I couldn't understand. I had spent weeks arranging things for them. I had called the restaurant. I had compared menus. I had paid the deposit. I had even changed the seating arrangement twice because Claire wanted certain friends together. And now I wasn't welcome at the celebration. I didn't cry. Not then. Maybe there comes a point in life when you've cried enough over things you never expected to have to explain. I simply folded the list and placed it on the table. "All right," I said. Claire sounded relieved. "Thank you for understanding." I almost laughed. Understanding what? That I was useful enough to pay for the evening, but unwanted enough to stay home. But I didn't say it. I had learned something with age. Not every hurt needs to become an argument. Sometimes silence gives you enough room to see what is really happening. After the call ended, I stood in my kitchen for several minutes. The house was quiet. On the refrigerator was a photograph of Daniel when he was 8 years old. He was missing his front teeth and holding a birthday cake almost as big as he was. I remembered that voice. I remembered every birthday cake, every school play, every scraped night, every night I stayed awake when he was sick. And I wondered when helping my son had quietly become something he expected rather than something he appreciated. Then I looked at the restaurant invoice sitting beside the phone. The entire celebration was already paid for. I picked it up. And for the first time that morning, I stopped feeling confused. I felt calm. Very calm. I picked up my phone again. There was one call I needed to make. Not to Claire. To the restaurant. The restaurant answered on the second ring. "Hi, this is Margaret. I need to make a change to a reservation." The woman on the other end asked for the booking name. I gave it to her. There was a pause. Yes, the celebration for Saturday evening. That's the one. How can I help you? I looked at the invoice on the table. I'd like to cancel it. There was another pause. Cancel the entire event. Yes. She checked the reservation. Since the event is only 2 days away, the deposit is non-refundable. I closed my eyes for a moment. That's all right. I wasn't calling to get my money back. That surprised even me. For weeks, I had believed the money was a gift to my son and Claire. Now the situation had changed. I wasn't taking the celebration away from them. I was simply withdrawing my money and my involvement from an event I had been told I wasn't welcome at. If they wanted to celebrate, they could still do so. They would simply have to make their own arrangements. I gave the restaurant my confirmation details and ended the call. Then I sat at the kitchen table. My hands were steady. I expected to feel angry.
Instead, I felt strangely empty. I hadn't canceled the celebration because I wanted to embarrass Claire. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want to ruin their evening. I simply couldn't keep paying for an event from which I had deliberately been excluded. There was a difference. I picked up my phone again. Daniel's name was on the screen. I stared at it. I almost called him. Then I stopped. I wanted to hear his side. But I also knew that if I called while I was hurt, I might say things I couldn't take back. So I sent him a simple message. Please call me when you have time. We need to talk about Saturday. He called 20 minutes later. Mom, what's wrong? His voice sounded worried. I took a breath. Did Claire tell you I'm not invited to the party? There was silence. Then Daniel said, She told me you wanted to stay home. I frowned. I never said that. Another silence. Mom, I thought you didn't want to come. Why would I spend 6 weeks organizing a party I didn't want to attend? He didn't have an answer. I continued. I didn't cancel the party because I was angry, Daniel. I know. I canceled it because the person who had asked me to pay for it made it clear I wasn't welcome. Daniel became quiet. I didn't know she said that. I believe you. Mom, I need to talk to Claire. You should. I paused. But I'm not asking you to choose between us. Then what do you want? I looked around my kitchen. I want you to understand that I can help you without accepting being pushed aside. Daniel didn't answer immediately. When he finally spoke, his voice was softer. I'm sorry, Mom. I closed my eyes. That apology mattered. But it didn't undo what had happened. I know. That evening, Daniel came to my house. He sat across from me at the kitchen table. Mom, tell me exactly what happened. I did. I told him what Claire had said. I told him that I had asked about dessert. I told him that I had never said I didn't want to come. Daniel listened without interrupting. When I finished, he looked down. Claire told me you were uncomfortable around some of our friends. I stared at him. Did you believe her? I didn't know what to believe. Then you should have asked me. He nodded. You're right. I looked at my son. He was no longer the little boy in the photograph on the refrigerator. He was a grown man with his own marriage and his own responsibilities. But I could still see the child who once came running into my kitchen whenever he was hurt. I don't want you to fight with your wife because of me, I said. I'm not going to fight with her. Good. But I am going to ask her why she did this. I stayed quiet. Daniel reached across the table and took my hand. Mom, you should never have been put in this position. I looked at our hands. I've made mistakes too. Like what? Maybe I helped too much. He smiled sadly. You've always helped too much. I thought that was what mothers did. It is. He paused. But you're allowed to have boundaries too. That word stayed with me. Boundaries. It sounded strange coming from my son. I had spent my life opening doors for my children. Now he was reminding me that I could close one when someone crossed a line. Daniel stood. I need to go home. I nodded. Before he reached the door, he turned around. Mom. Yes. Did you really cancel everything? Yes. He looked at me for a moment. I think Claire is going to be very surprised. I didn't smile. I don't want her embarrassed. I know. I just want her to understand that what happened wasn't okay. Daniel nodded. I think she will. After he left, I stood alone in the kitchen. I wasn't happy that the celebration was canceled. I wasn't proud of it. And I wasn't looking forward to what would happen next. But for the first time, I wasn't trying to fix everything. I had told my son the truth. Now he had to decide what he was going to do with it. The party fell apart before Saturday ever arrived. By Friday morning, Daniel had called me twice. The first time, he said, Mom, I talked to Claire. I didn't ask what she had said. I knew I needed to let him tell me. She says she didn't mean it the way it sounded. I sat quietly. What did she mean? Daniel sighed. She thought you would be uncomfortable. Because she said some of her friends don't know you well. I looked out the kitchen window. Daniel, that doesn't explain why she told me I wasn't invited to a party I paid for. I know. His voice sounded tired. Then he said something I wasn't expecting. She admitted she handled it badly. I closed my eyes. That was the first time I felt the anger begin to leave. Not because everything was suddenly fine, but because someone had finally acknowledged what had happened. What about the party? I asked. It's canceled. I know. Claire is upset. I almost said so was I. Instead, I said, I understand. Daniel was quiet. The celebration had been planned as a happy evening. Now there would be no flowers, no dinner, no speeches, no photographs, no family gathering. A week of planning had disappeared because 3 people had made assumptions instead of having one honest conversation. That Saturday evening, I stayed home. Around 7, my doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I opened the door, Daniel was standing there. Claire was beside him. She looked uncomfortable. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then Claire said, I owe you an apology. I stepped aside. Come in. We sat at the kitchen table. Claire looked at her hands. I was wrong. I waited. I wanted the party to feel like something for our friends. I thought having fewer people would make it easier. She looked at me. But I shouldn't have excluded you. No, I said quietly. You paid for everything, and I treated you like you were only useful for paying for it. That sentence surprised me. It was exactly what I had been afraid was true. Claire's eyes filled with tears. I am sorry. I believed that she was. But forgiveness didn't have to happen in one conversation. So I said, "I appreciate you saying that." Daniel looked at both of us. Then Claire reached into her purse. She placed an envelope on the table. "We want to pay you back." I pushed it gently toward her. "You don't have to." "We do." I looked at the envelope, then at Claire, then use it for something else. "What?" "Have the celebration." Claire looked confused. "But the restaurant is canceled." "I know. So what do we do?" I smiled. "Start over." Daniel looked at me. "You mean it?" "Yes. But this time," I said, "everyone who belongs there gets to be there." Claire nodded. She reached across the table. "Thank you." I took her hand. It wasn't a perfect ending. There was still something we needed to rebuild. But perhaps that was the point. Our family hadn't needed another expensive party. We needed an honest conversation. A few weeks later, Daniel and Claire held a smaller celebration. This time, they planned it themselves. I was invited. But more importantly, I was invited because they wanted me there, not because I was paying for the evening. Claire came into the kitchen before dinner and hugged me. "Thank you for giving us another chance," she said. I smiled. "Families need chances." She looked at me. "And boundaries." I laughed softly. "Families need those too." Daniel heard us and smiled. That evening, we sat around the same table. There was food. There was laughter. There were a few awkward moments. But there was also something we hadn't had before. Honesty. I looked at my son and his wife and realized that respecting myself hadn't pushed my family away. It had taught them how to respect me too. I still help my children. I still give when I want to. I still love being their mother. But now when I say yes, it is because I choose to. Not because I'm afraid that saying no will make someone love me less. And when I look back at that canceled celebration, I don't think about the money I lost. I think about what I finally understood. Helping your family is an act of love. But love does not require you to accept disrespect. Sometimes the most loving thing a mother can do is tell her family the truth without anger and without cruelty. I love you, but I deserve respect too. And that didn't break our family. It gave us a better way to love one another.